Listen, folks, I need to tell you about something that happened back in 1964. A story that's going to stay with you long after I'm done talking. This is about a little girl named Maurice in Chiricella, and I promise you, by the time we're through here, you're going to understand why this case matters so much, even all these decades later. Now, before we dive deep into this heartbreaking tale, I want you to do me a favor. If the story moves you, and I believe it will, hit that subscribe button and share this with someone who appreciates real American history, the kind that doesn't make it into the textbooks but lives in the hearts of communities forever. Maurice in Chiricella came into this world on Thanksgiving Day, November 25, 1954, in Waterloo, New York. Can you imagine that? A Thanksgiving baby. Her parents, Carmen and Mary Chiricella, must have felt like they had so much to be grateful for that year. She was their second child, and eventually, she'd have 4 siblings total. They were what you'd call a good, hard-working Italian-American family, the kind that built this country, really. Now, Carmen, Maurice's father, he was originally from Wilkes-Barre, and he'd met Mary, who was from Hazleton, Pennsylvania. After spending some time up in New York, the family decided to move back to Mary's hometown of Hazleton in the early 1960s. And let me paint you a picture of what Hazleton was like back then, because it's important you understand this. Hazleton in those days was what we call an anthracite coal mining town. For those of you who might not know, anthracite is this really hard coal, burns hot and clean. Generations of families in that part of Pennsylvania had built their entire lives around those mines. Now, by the time the Chiricella family moved there, the mining industry was starting to decline, but the culture? Oh, the culture was still strong. This was the kind of place where everybody knew everybody. Where your neighbor wasn't just someone who lived next door, they were family. Where kids could walk to school without parents worrying themselves sick. Where the Catholic Church was the backbone of the whole community. The Chiricella family settled into the northwest section of Hazleton, and Carmen, he ran a little neighborhood grocery store called, you guessed it, Little Market. That store sat right next door to their home, which was convenient, but let me tell you, running a small grocery store in those days was no joke. Carmen would get up before dawn to pick up supplies. Then he'd open the doors at 10 a.m. and wouldn't close until 10 p.m. 7 days a week. After closing, he'd still have to do the bookkeeping late into the night. Meanwhile, Mary worked at one of the downtown knitting mills, adding to the family income. But here's what I want you to understand. Even though these parents worked themselves to the bone, those Chiricella children had a childhood rich with love. Sundays were sacred in that household. Carmen
would actually close the store for exactly 1 hour around lunchtime.